So I just finished building my coastal off-road high clearance bumper for my 3rd gen 4runner, and I'm going to show you how I did it step by step. Alright, so following the instructions here, we're going to grab our first piece, which is this one here. This one's going to get mounted to the bottom of the frame rails right here. And we're going to do that using the factory bolts. So 2 factory bolts on the driver's side, and then we have 2 longer bolts with the tow hook on the passenger side. So you have to put it in with the tow hook, which acts as a spacer. Alright, so I got this bolted on with the factory bolts. This is the second piece. It's got a notch here that goes just around this. Right here. The holes line up perfectly with the factory holes there. Okay, with that in place, we're gonna need to drill 2 holes from the bottom up. Okay, that's with a 1/2 inch drill bit. Got some oil just to make it a little bit easier to drill. It helps if your drill bit is sharp. Right, so I've got both holes drilled with a 1/2 inch bit. These are the bolts that I had bought from the hardware store, so these just go through the bottom. So after you put the bolts in, you get a coffee from your wifey.
Oh, hi.
Alright, so I'm gonna just read these instructions here, see what it says. So this is me trying to make sense of the instructions. I was a little bit confused, but I figured it out eventually. Alright, so what it says next is to weld this nut onto the plate here, because that's going to just stay there permanent. It also says before doing that, to place a washer in between the frame rail and the plate, so right there. So I'm going to quickly just do that right now. Okay, so that's done. So the washer, it says, is going to act as a spacer. If this is not done, the bumper will be very tight to install and remove in the future. Okay, so make sure you put that washer in there. So next, we're just going to weld this nut onto the plate on both sides. Okay, so this is piece number 3 tacked in. I accidentally deleted this part of the video, so I'm just going to skip to the next step. Alright guys, so next is piece number 4 and 5. This is the big piece is number 5, and then the small piece is number 4, which I already have attached here. So I've just got it clamped together. You just got to make sure it's all lined up. It just goes to the side here, so I'm going to get that tacked up. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Alright, so next piece is plate. Okay, so it's got these little notches which have to be facing the front. It's actually a drain hole. So the instructions say to put this on first and then do the other side, like this one on the other side. Now I noticed something, so I'm going to show you. When I put this in place, okay, so we put this in place. This has to be flush with this, so that's got to go back about 1/2 inch or so. Okay, as you can see, it's actually going to hit this line and it's not going to allow it to go back. I've already test fitted the other one and it just doesn't work, which I'm kind of surprised, because like that piece there is already notched, so I figured this would come pre-notched as well, but it didn't. So I made some lines. I'm just gonna cut a little notch out here just to pass that. Alright guys, so I've made my notch here so I can actually pass this line. This is also flexible too, as you can see, so there's a room there. So I have it in place. I'm just gonna line this up. I'm gonna put a couple tacks and then I'll get started on this side piece here. So I got the 2 sides in. So this is the next piece here with the fair lead opening at the bottom. Okay, so I have my magnets holding it right now because I thought it would kind of slide in, but as you can see, it actually goes to the front, if that makes sense. So instead of going down and sitting on this piece, it's just on the face of it. So I just got some magnets holding it in place. I'm just gonna line it all up and tack it in. Alright guys, so next up is the driver's side wing. You'll know the difference between the driver and the passenger because if you look at the passenger side, it's got that little notch, and that's to clear that canister, okay? So the driver's side does not have that notch. You go ahead and put it in place. I'm using some magnets. This corner lines up perfectly with this, okay? Now, this is probably a bit of overkill, but I just put my jack up just to kind of support it and to make sure that my body line here is consistent all along. So you want, it's, I don't know, between like 1/2 inch to 3/4, and you want to just make sure it's all perfect before you get it tacked in. So I'm gonna quickly measure that, make sure it's good, and then get it tacked in. Just a tip, just a little tip that I think will be useful is what I'm gonna do. Before I actually tack this in, I'm gonna just grab the next piece, and I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'm just gonna put it in place and see what it looks like. Just to, oh, this is the wrong piece, but just to make sure that it's actually gonna line up before I tack this big wing in. So I'm basically making sure that this corner, right, lines up with that corner, because I don't want to tag this in and then put this in and realize that it's sticking out too far or whatever, because then that's gonna mess up literally the rest of the bumper. Alright, so this is the next piece. It goes right here. What I'm going to do, it's not in the instructions, but this corner that meets this corner, the inside corner, I'm just going to grind down a little bit, just so it fits a little bit better. You don't have to do this, but I think it'll be a little bit better. Alright guys, so I'm just making some progress. Got a couple pieces on. Just have that last piece to put on, just for that front, and then I gotta still do some pieces on the bottom, and then eventually go to the other side. Alright guys, so literally the last piece on the driver's side. So it's going along good, I'm excited. I'm gonna get this in. So that is why you should get a professional to weld your bumper. I'm just kidding, but don't be an amateur like me. Don't wear clothes that are ripped. So what happened was the sleeve of my jacket was already ripped, and this white stuff here, really easy to catch fire. The spark hit it, caught on fire. I clearly don't know what I'm doing, and yeah, burnt my arm. I'm fine. It didn't burn my actual arm at all, but this is basically what happened to my sweater. So yeah, don't do that. Alright guys, so this side is completely tacked in. I just called it a night yesterday, so the next morning I'm getting started on this side. I got this wing in, and I'm gonna just start putting the other pieces in. I'm just putting literally the last piece on, which is the end cap. Just goes on right here. And I'll be basically done for tacking, and then I got to take it off, put in the supports, and then just start finish welds. Starting to look really nice. So this piece, this big piece, is gonna go right here in the front, but I'm leaving it to the very end just because I gotta get in there and just finish weld all of that, prime it, paint it or whatever, and then put that final piece on. Otherwise, I won't be able to access that afterwards. I test fitted my winch as well. Fits in there perfect. All right, guys, so I'm just starting my finish welds here. Something I wanted to point out is these pieces, which is this one here, it actually comes with 6 of these, okay? So you start off like in the instructions, you put 2 there and 2 there, but you actually have to put the 3rd one on each side, okay? So basically I've gone ahead and just welded here. I'm going to grind that down just so I can actually fit this in here flush. I'm also going to go ahead, I don't know if this is really necessary, but that's a drain hole. I'm just going to go ahead and cut a piece off of here just to keep that nice and open. Alright guys, so I'm just putting in these supports. Okay, so there's 2 of these, that one and this one, and then there's 2 of these thicker ones. I meant to say wider. The instructions say that it needs to go 10 inches from here, and you want to make sure you're not covering that hole. That's for the winch. Okay, the skinny one goes on the top, the thicker one goes directly below it. So about 10 inches. Doesn't have to be exact, but roughly 10 inches. Alright guys, so I'm working on all the finished welds, base of the bumper. I'm almost actually done. I just have this wing here left to do. And then I'm gonna start, grinding, sanding, put some primer on here, primer and paint, and then finally put that final piece on and weld that out. So. Alright guys, so quick update. I've got the bumper on my table here. All the welds are basically done. So right now, I'm just working on that inside area. So I'll just quickly show you here. So all the welding's done. Now this inside area, I've gone ahead and just ground down any of the welds needed to be grinded. I've sanded this down. So I'm just gonna give this a quick wipe with some alcohol just to get rid of any grease and shit. This is the final piece. So the back side right here, I'm going to get that sanded down as well. Get a coat of primer on that and that. Let that dry. Tomorrow I'm going to hit it with another coat of primer. I'll let that dry again. In the meantime, I'm just going to grind down any of the other welds and everything. And then finally, I'm going to throw some paint on that and that. Once that's fully painted, that is when I'm finally going to put that on there. Weld it all up. I'll be officially done with all the welding. This is the way I chose to do it, just because if I was to weld this on right now, as you can see, there's barely any room to get in there with a spray can. So I don't really know how people do it. I do know like powder coat shops, they do manage to do it somehow, but I just figured prime and paint everything first would be the way to go. I'm using this stuff, nothing special. I'm sure there's way better stuff out there to use, but this is what I have, so yeah. Using the instructions as a shield. Alright, so it's the next day. I waited 24 hours for this primer to dry. Alright, so I just have cardboard here to protect it because I'm actually grinding. Making some good progress here. That's what's left of my grinder disc. It used to be a lot bigger, so I gotta go and get a new one right now. Continue on grinding. I'm almost done, like this wing, and then I just got to do the other side. And just gonna throw another coat of primer on this, let that dry overnight again, and then get the painting. Alright guys, so I've got the inside here primed and painted. Well, actually I use Bedliner. I'll show you guys what I've used and everything. I'll put everything in the description as well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. So I don't know if you can see, it's got a nice rough finish. I don't know how durable it's gonna be. I mean, not gonna lie, I kind of wish I got it powder coated. That's what I would do if I had to do this again. But it's all right, looks pretty good. So it's gonna just go on. All right, so I am pretty much done all the grinding. So I am just gonna be sanding this down. I'm using 120 grit sandpaper, like that. Alright, so I ran out of the other primer that I had used on that front inside part, so I went ahead and just picked up some of this Super Acid Self Etching Primer. So I'm just doing the first coat right now. And then once it dries, I'm going to just use the same brand regular primer, and then I'll do the Bedliner. So, all right. So this is what it looks like. Okay. I'll show what I used. All right, that's the stuff that I used. Seems to be working really nice. I like it, sprays on real good. And I pretty much use the entire bottle. Alright, so I've let the self-etch primer dry. So I'm going to hit it with this stuff here. Okay, 3-in-1 gray primer. Probably do a couple coats, 2 or 3 coats of this. And I went ahead and did the first coat with the same Bedliner spray. But then I decided to go to the store and just pick up the exact same product, but it comes in a big can like this. So I'm gonna just shake this up, pour it in here, and I'm just gonna roll it on. And I have a brush as well for all the corners and like the inside corners and everything. So this stuff is really thick. Oh yeah, this stuff is really thick, really chunky. So alright. That didn't work. I got it all over my jacket. If I was to do this job again, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't bother with any of this. Like honestly, I would just get it welded up and then just take it to a powder coat shop and get it powder coated. I don't know, I think not only is it going to be like way better quality, to be honest, powder coating is not even that much more expensive. I called a local place here in Calgary, and it was like around 200 to 250 Canadian, right? Which is nothing. I mean, not only are you going to get like really good quality stuff, but you also don't have to mess with all this and try to do it yourself and whatever. I mean, this stuff seems to be working pretty good, but you can't compare it to powder coat. I mean, powder coat is way better in every way. So I'll show what the back kind of looks like. So you can kind of see the texture. It's kind of shiny right now, but once it's dry, it'll, you know, it'll be a little more clear like what it's actually going to look like. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty damn nice. I'm liking it. Alright guys, so I've let this dry overnight, so it's been about 24 hours. And I'm really liking it. It's super rough. There's some kind of, you know, chunky areas here, but I really don't mind. Like, I actually really like it. It seems like a really durable and strong product. I mean, we'll see once I actually start taking it out on the trails and stuff, but I'm really liking it. Put another coat on, let that dry, and we'll be officially done. I can throw it on the 4runner and go for a ride. Using the same stuff here. You gotta shake it really, really good. The second coat's already looking really good. Alright guys, it's the moment of truth. I let the second coat dry overnight, so the bumper is fully complete. So we're gonna put it on the 4runner, make sure it fits, and make sure it looks good. I just woke up, actually, it's today is the day after Christmas, so we had a late night last night. So I'm pretty tired right now, but I woke up, I was way too excited. I was like, man, the bumper's done, I gotta get it on. Let's put it on and see what happens. Well, just like that, we're all done. Fits perfect, it looks great in my opinion. Yeah, I couldn't be happier, honestly. I'm actually gonna throw my winch in right now. Wait, how am I gonna tie in the winch? Oh crap. I just realized I think I have to take the bumper off to actually put the winch in. I can fit the winch in, but the holes mount the winch are not really accessible from. That's annoying. Alright, so I got the winch mounted. Alright guys, so here it is. I am finally done, fully complete my coastal off-road bumper. Really happy with the way it turned out. Overall, pretty doable. I'm a complete amateur. You should have somewhat of a knowledge of welding for sure. It doesn't have to look great because you can grind it down, finish it, but you want to make sure the welds are strong. I welded the back and the front, right? And again, that's I think that's just because I'm not a great welder, so I just wanted to make sure, you know, I'm getting a lot of heat in there. If you're really good, maybe you can just do the one side, but it's all done. I'm really happy with the Bedliner that I use. Like it's really nice. I don't know, it looks good. The texture seems pretty tough. Time will tell how long it's gonna last. I'm sure people are gonna ask like what welder I used and whatever. So I'm gonna put everything in the description. I'll put the link to what I used. The welder I used, honestly, is just an Amazon welder. I paid like, I don't know, 320 bucks Canadian. It is a 240 volt, so yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. I'm really happy with the welder. I don't know, you don't really have to have like a fancy welder to do this job. Putting on the winch was a bit of a pain. I'll show you. It's hard to see from here, but the bolt that's holding the winch from the bottom, so that one and that one, right? So the front two. The two in the back, no problem, but the front two are really, really hard to get to. Actually, there you go. It's right there, okay? So obviously you can't get your hand in there. You can try to kind of put something through here, but you can see how far it is. Like from here, the bolt is right around here. So what I ended up doing was from the back of the bumper, like before I put the bumper on, there's like a little hole. It's probably like, I don't know, maybe 4 inches wide, like not wide at all. That's where I put my wrench through, and I was doing like little quarter turns to tighten it. Like it took me probably an hour to tighten that thing up. Unless I'm an idiot, I'm pretty sure it's just a really bad design and it's really hard to get to, so I don't know. If you're able to maybe put those nuts on before you actually weld this front plate on, that would be ideal, because then you can actually get in there and like really crank it tight. Other than that, the bolts are holding the bumper in place. In between the bumper and the frame of the vehicle, where they actually attach, I just sprayed some fluid film in there. This is the stuff I use, the fluid film black. It's just rust prevention, right? So I just kind of put it like where all the metal to metal are in contact. Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers it all. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment below. I will do my best to answer them for you. I know this is a pretty big job. I was pretty intimidated. Like when I first got it, I was contemplating to just, you know, take it to a place and get it done. But I just wanted to get it done myself. I'm sure you'll have some questions. I know I did. So feel free to ask me. If this video was helpful, and I hope it was, I really hope it helps you, you know, weld your own coastal off-road bumper. If you did find it helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be making a lot more videos. I'll probably make a video of like a full review of the bumper after I use it. So just a quick little update. I will be putting my grill back on. I'm actually going to be making one of those Satoshi grills with the mesh. I'll make a whole different video on that. But for right now, this thing, I just needed to get it hooked up, so I just removed my grill just so I can actually fit this in place. I really hate the way it looks. I think it's ugly, and I can't put my grill back on with this on. So I will be moving this eventually into the engine bay. Maybe I'll make a video on that, and then I'll be building my Satoshi grill and putting that in. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.